How's the family? Good. Dude, mine just turned 8, my oldest, and I'm like, interest? Like, what? Girl. For sure. Yeah.
Alex, blessed and humbled to have you on the show today, man. You ready to knock this thing out? Good deal. How's everything going in your life? Is your wife part of the agency, Michelle, or she do something else? Gotcha. What? So my wife taught second grade for 14 years. Yeah. So my mother. Yeah. My whole family. I come from a family of educators. My mom was a 7th grade English teacher in special education, and then my dad was a teacher for a while.
You come from a family of learned doctors.
Learned doctors. My grandmother Howell was a teacher in Hamilton Middle School for probably 30 years. Taught home ed. Yeah. I don't know, but I took it when it was one of my favorite classes I took. As like a sophomore or junior, I took home ed.
You know what's so interesting? Is I'm picturing Thanksgiving at your house.
Sure.
And on one half of the table is a bunch of educators.
Mm-hmm.
On the other half is a bunch of lawyers and judges. And in the middle is Scott.
Right.
And
Black sheep.
that's not what I'm saying. Are we rolling right now?
We're not rolling.
It don't matter. Say it again.
Well, no. I wanted to be rolling, but it's fine.
I mean, we're rolling, but we're.
Okay. So I bet everybody shuts up when you talk. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're the one that holds court. And that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
You have teachers, you have lawyers and judges, and it's like, when that son's going to talk, we need to listen, because we're about to either get super educated, laugh our butt off. You know what I mean? It's going to be something you can't miss.
You know,
I mean that as a compliment.
Well, thank you. I will say this. There is a very special relationship, and I'm not jealous of this. I'm really not. But I will say there's a special relationship between my dad and my only sister.
She's an attorney.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have a lot to talk about. Like when they talk, it's like, because they work on cases together. They represent
Oh, that's cool.
the rural electric co-op in Northwest Alabama together. Alex, let's talk about you. It ain't about me today, brother. So right now, currently, I know that you're currently on the Big I Diversity Council, aren't you? You were. Okay. Do you still have your finger on the pulse of what they're doing over there? Yeah. And what other things would you want to talk about today while we're on the podcast? We try to let our guests kind of run the show for the most part and talk about what they want to talk about. So, right. Well, I know that's not going to happen. You want to count me down and you want me to clap first again or clap last?
Yeah, you can go ahead and give me a clap.
Okay. And Alex, I don't know. Let me know.
All right, give me a clap.
Yeah. Wait 1 second. Hey, Alex, let me just real briefly, I try to do this with all of our guests. I'll introduce, of course, I'll do the big intro. I'll introduce myself, then introduce Bradley, then we tell a funny story, typically something stupid that I've done, and sometimes something Bradley's gotten into. And then I'll talk about the mission of the podcast and bring you on, and then we'll just get rolling. Probably take 3 to 5 minutes, something like that. Sure. Right. Nah, you'll be fine. All right, you
All
ready?
right, give me a clap. All right, ready in 1, 2, 3.
Insurance agents from around the world, welcome to the Insurance Guys podcast, powered by Glovebox. God, I love Glovebox. My name is Scott Howell, your fearless host and leader, insurance agency owner and insurance evangelist for I Protect Insurance and Financial Services, based out of Huntsville, Alabama. And before we get started on today's show, please help me welcome. He is a 6'3" sophomore from Mobile, Alabama. Parade first team All-American, Rivals 5-star recruit. He is a fantastic insurance agent and a great American. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome the incomparable Mr. Bradley Flowers. How are you, Bradley?
Man, I just had Thai food.
Mm.
We are 1 for 3 in restaurants being open, and we try to go there this week.
It's nappy time.
It is nap time. That's why I try not. You said I bet you come here all the time. I really don't. Probably once a month.
Really? I thought you probably ate there a lot more than that.
No, about once a month, and I don't go there at lunch because you feel like we feel now. I'll text Laurel and just say Thai.
Mhm.
She always says yes every single time.
Did it bother you, and I want you to be completely honest with me, because I was trying to read your body language and tonality when I did this. So we're at the Thai restaurant, and we've got our director of cinema, our photographer, our videographer, we got all these people here, the cameras, but we were at the Thai restaurant eating at the booth, and Bradley said, "Hey, I think that's the owner." And I said, "Well, I'm going to ask if I can have his insurance business." So sure enough, he comes over, he's got our soup,
Yeah.
our appetizer soup stuff that we ate, and as he's leaving it on the table, I said, "Hey, we're Portal Insurance right here across the road. We eat here all the time." I said, "You ought to let us quote your insurance business. When's it come due?" Just plant a seed. He said, "Well, I think it comes due sometime in December, January time frame." I said, "Well, you ought to let us have a chance to quote it. I mean, we're just right across the street." I couldn't get a beat on you whether you were cared or not that I did that, or whether you
I'm
were
glad
like,
you did it because now I have a lead.
okay. I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell. You didn't really have much to say about that.
That's exactly my style, except you do it with more
Panache.
masculinity,
Right.
more,
Yeah.
They feel like you're going to strangle them if they don't say yes.
Well, I thought it was interesting that when he walked off. Now there's 4 of us sitting at the booth. You're kind of an introverted extrovert.
100%.
I am a straight up
Extroverted.
alpha male extrovert, but I will say I'm also one of those people that I can turn it on. I can turn it on for days. I can turn it on at an insurance conference for 2 or 3 days, and the entire time
Yeah.
just be.
But I've also seen you at an insurance conference, like, almost stay in the room the whole time.
Well, usually because I'm about to die because I'm so sick. But
Yeah.
but yes, you're right.
But just like, hey, I don't want to hang out here.
Right. Yeah. Now, Brandon, our director of cinematography over here, went to school as cinematography school, very introverted. Goes home after work and plays video games. You can tell he's very introverted, right? Now, our videographer over here, Rand, he is more of an extrovert, more sales-oriented type guy. Brandon told me as soon as I did that, he's also very opinionated. Brandon tells me, he says, "I wouldn't have done that. I couldn't have done that." and I didn't say this to him, he's sitting right over here beside me off air. I thought, well, you don't need to be an insurance agent,
For sure.
right?
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Right. It's just some personalities don't lend themselves to sales. His does not.
Yeah.
Not gonna say he couldn't if he really, really wanted
Do a
to.
big celebratory event when I write the tire film.
Yeah, oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. Guys, for those of you that don't know, this morning, what is today, guys? August the 30th?
Thanks, sir.
I was paid $1.75 million by Banana Boat to introduce their new product, Dad Bod by Banana Boat. They flew me to Jamaica, first class, of course. So on social media, if you go to my Facebook page and the Insurance Guys' Instagram page or Twitter or whatever, you can watch some of the B-roll.
I'm shocked you didn't do it yet, man.
No, well,
You probably won't do it.
I'm not there yet.
The
I'm not there
yellow painted jet.
Sure, right, Banana Boat Jet. It was a great shoot. I enjoyed meeting everybody with Banana Boat. They've got a great team put together.
Was Heidi pulling on it?
Was not, it was just me. This particular product, they felt like they needed somebody ruggedly handsome,
Yeah.
as they put it, their words, not mine, the Alabama version of Rip Wheeler off of Yellowstone.
Why did they get you?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. What they said was, and when I was doing the initial, interview and basically going up for the part, which I went up against about 10 other guys, exact words in the interview was, we're looking for somebody who's skinny fat. And haven't seen anybody here that fits the bill any better than you do. So, it was a great 7 days. I enjoyed it. Hard-earned money being in Jamaica, in the sun and the sand, and
We're gonna get a yellow banana shake cease and desist from Banana Boat.
Well, it won't be the first time, right?
It will not.
And it will not be the last. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a fantastic podcast for you today. Got a guest on that I am wildly interested in interviewing. It's funny, Bradley mentioned him to me either this morning or last night at dinner, and he said, do you know Alex? And I said, I don't know Alex, but I know his name. His name has come up in certain circles that I'm involved in, you're involved with before. And so when you said his name, I thought, I feel like I know him because I've heard people talk about
I did a
him.
lot of that.
Right, but I never had a chance to meet, and so today we're going to have a good time together. Guys, our mission on this podcast each and every week is to help you agents row the boat one step closer to the lighthouse. We're trying to get you guys from the 5-yard line into the end zone, and I'm using that analogy because this weekend starts college football season, which is the basically birth of baby Jesus for people in the state of Alabama. It's there's the start of Alabama football season and then Christmas right below that. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting year here in or football season here in the deep south.
Hey, bet real quick. Nobody listening to this cares about this.
Right.
Do you think that Auburn's coach makes it to week 8?
I think he will make it through the season.
Really?
Yes, because he starts his first 2 games out against Red Bay Junior High School and some junior college out of South Mississippi, I think.
I think if he's won no more than 5 games after 8, he's gone.
Oh, when he goes to Tuscaloosa and gets beat 675 to 3,
Yeah.
he won't get on the bus to go home.
Yeah, that'll be not good.
Yeah, that'll be how that goes.
Well, I just wanted to say that I would have a record to see what actually
Sure,
happened.
absolutely, absolutely. Here we go, guys. Got a big podcast for you today. Get your notebook out. Write this shit down. We are here to help you agents get better. That's my mission every single week, okay? One day, I'm going to retire, and one of you is going to pull up to my house. I'm going to be on my tractor with a bush hog behind it. You're going to be in a limousine. We're going to hug it out. You're going to tell me how much I helped you,
They're going to hand you your t-shirt.
and they're going to hand me my check for $1 million.
T-shirt.
Scott Howell, I can promise you, son, if it hadn't been for you, I wouldn't be where I am today.
So when one of you guys or girls starts the next Acrisure,
That's right.
Scott's finally going to get paid.
I'm either going to get paid or get the t-shirt, and we all know what the t-shirt says. Guys, let me get this guy on the podcast. I need to get him on because he can really help you guys today, and I want to give him the introduction he's always deserved. He was born, raised, and lives in Miami, Florida. He is married to the beautiful Michelle, and they have 2 beautiful babies. Not so babies anymore, but I tell everybody baby. I always say the word babies. I just think that's cute. Megan, 14, and Ryan, 11. Megan and Ryan, you do not care one bit about this podcast today, but let me tell you something. When you're about 25 or 30 years old, one day you're going to come back and you're going to listen to this podcast, and you are going to be so proud of your dad. And I can't wait for that to happen. He is the Vice President of DePazzo and Associates, Inc., a family-run insurance agency representing businesses all over the great state of Florida. He joined the industry in 1998 with his partner and father, Maximo DePazzo, love that name. His core values of honesty, simplicity, and education drives everything that he does to help assist small businesses thrive by understanding and helping place the insurance coverages that they need and want at a competitive price. He served in several capacities in local and national trade associations, including the Latin American Association of Insurance Agencies and the Big I Diversity Council. Today, he is still a part of that, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. He's going up to talk to those people and be a part of the Latin American Insurance Council. I don't want to talk about that in just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my profound honor today to introduce to you first-time guest on the IGP, Mr. Alex DePazzo. How are you, Alex? Proud to have you.
Heck yeah, absolutely.
Let me explain something to you. To Scott Howell, that is like being 8 years old and waking up with a brand new bicycle underneath the Christmas tree. Mm-hmm. That is exactly what that's like. Alex, I've got so much to talk to you about, and I meant what I said regarding your kids. The thing about this podcast is it lives in perpetuity on the World Wide Web. So kids that are your age...
Information superhighway.
Web 3. The thing about our kids, and when I say our kids, I mean Bradley's, mine, and every podcast guest that we've ever had over 256, 57 episodes. These kids do not care anything about insurance right now. They're all, they're living their life. They're in school and they've got interest and things like that. And right now, today, they don't give a shit about what we're talking about on this podcast. But one day, they're going to be 30 years old. They're going to be 35 years old. And I'm not going to be here anymore. I'm going to be gone. And I cannot tell you, I'm trying not to get emotional right now, I cannot tell you what I would give to be able to have something like this of my grandparents. Absolutely. Even my parents, my mom and dad, they're getting up into that 74, 75-year-old range. Yeah. I am about to, we're going to have secret time real quick, Alex. I lost both of my grandfathers when I was a junior in college. They died within months of each other. I believe one died of lung cancer. He'd smoked Camels with no filters for 30, 40 years. And I didn't say 3 or 4 years, I said 30 or 40 years. The other died of prostate cancer. I, today, as we sit here, do not have, to my knowledge, one picture of any of my grandparents. And sometimes it is hard for me to remember what they look like,
let alone sound like.
Right, yeah, right. I do have one picture in my office. My grandfather was at Pearl Harbor the day it was bombed by the Japanese. He was in the Army. And in my office, if you ever come in my office, on the wall across from my desk, I have a picture of him in his Army uniform. It's the one picture I have of any of my grandparents. So, we've talked enough about me. Alex, I want to know all about you. Get in my DeLorean today. Let's go back in time, talk a little bit about how you got into the insurance business, and bring us up to today. And when you're finished with that, I want to talk about some of these diversity councils that you've been a part of. Wow. Well, hey, here's great news. I'll write it down when you do. I love quotes from granddaddies. Right. Wow. Man. Hey, let me tell you something. I just got off a podcast yesterday that will come out a couple of weeks before this one. And I lied. I told every person, all 250,000 of our listening audience, I said, I am not a jealous person. I am jealous of you, because if there's one thing I could have in my life, it would be able to go to lunch with my dad today. So I am jealous of you. Yeah. Right. Sure. I can, if you need help on that in the future, call me and I'll be happy to help you with that. Right, right. Nice. We're about to talk about that. We're about to talk about that. Yeah. Right. So before we do, I've got a story to tell you, Alex. And I've never, this secret time, people. Secret time from Scott Howell. I've never told this story, ever. Never told it to Bradley. First time it's ever been told. You said that when your father got in business, you guys opened up an Allstate shop, or he did. Is that right? Isn't that what you said? Right. Right.
Thank God I didn't do Allstate.
Well, that's my story. Secret time. I've never told one person this story. In 2007, when I started thinking about getting into the insurance industry, had not gotten into it yet. I started doing research on different companies, different carriers, different agencies in my area. At that time, I was living in Birmingham, Alabama, central Alabama. And I actually went out and I met with different agency owners to talk about their agency and possible opportunities, and then I started researching different companies. And I'm talking about all of them. I was talking to Alpha Insurance. I was talking to independent agency owners and thinking about coming on board as an agent for them. And I somehow got connected to a marketing manager with Allstate Insurance. And I called him and I left him a voicemail. He was like a marketing manager for Central Alabama. And he called me back maybe the day later. And of all the people I interviewed with over the span of about a year and a half, and I interviewed with probably 20 or 30 of different people in the industry, agency owners, this guy calls me back, y'all. Again, I've never told this story. And we have about a 30-minute talk over the phone. At that time, you didn't have Zoom, and I didn't know how to do Skype or anything like that. So we were just talking over the phone. He told me on the phone, he said, Scott, I'm going to tell you something. All you need to do, we'll sign you up as an Allstate agent. I'll give you a contract. We'll open you up an office. He said, you really don't need more than about 2 weeks of training, and you'll be fine. And I thought, has this son of a bitch lost his mind? I mean, I didn't know
That's
shit.
called, I get a bonus if you sign up today, so I'm going to tell you whatever I can tell you.
I didn't know shit from Shampoo about insurance, but I knew damn well it's going to take longer than 2 weeks for me to be able to damn run an insurance agency.
Is that, because I know.
That is a true story. That really happened.
You tell your new hires, correct me if I'm wrong, the first year is going to suck.
Awful. Jail. Basically jail.
Does that kind of come from that a little bit?
I think that just comes, no, not from that. It just comes from my experience. So
Yeah.
one of the things I found out when I signed on with Nationwide, and I've told everybody on this podcast before, my sales manager would literally get on her knees at night at foot of her bed and pray that I would die of anal cancer. Her favorite saying to me my first 6 months with Nationwide was, well, Scott, I don't know what to tell you. It's sink or swim. If I heard that once, I heard it 100 times. It's sink or swim. It's sink or swim. And it almost forced me, well, it did force me, and Clinton Orr, we'll have him on the podcast one day and he can tell all these stories.
We haven't done that yet.
No, we haven't. We need to. He'll tell you the same thing. Sink or swim. Sink or swim.
Yeah.
Anyway, Alex, I didn't mean to get off on a
So,
tangent.
one more thing. This must be something in your personality, because you said that you...
People hate my guts. Yeah, you're right. There's
It's always
a
something
lot of
you say.
people that hate my guts.
No, you said, I don't think that's as true as you think it is. You said that...
That waitress at Callahan's would disagree, by the
She would
way.
disagree.
Anyway.
Inside joke. So, you talk to every company.
I talked
And that's
to,
the opposite of what a lot of people do.
yeah,
Most people coming in this industry,
blind.
they go with the brand,
Right.
you know, and whatever, right? But when you went from Nationwide to Independent, I remember you did this. You tried every single technology vendor under the sun and then whittled it down to the one you want to use. So there must be something in your, and that's not what I did, and that's not what most agents do.
Right.
And I thought it was really smart that you did that. There must be something in your personality that's like, hey, we're just going to try a little bit of everything.
See what works.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the reason I did that, and I need to apologize publicly to Bradley, because there were 2 times that I called Bradley, and he said, as I'm trying all these technologies, he said, and I quote, Scott, don't do that. And my dumb ass,
And that doesn't me wrong.
because I have the brain of about an 8-week-old raccoon, thought that I'm smarter than Bradley Flowers. This will probably work for us. And both times, what did I do? Called you 2 or 3 weeks later, and I said,
You're right.
"You're right. I'm a dumbass."
I can tell you one thing that I'm decently good at is if you tell me like what you're looking for
Right.
in a technology, I can pretty much say, okay, this is who you need to go with
Bradley,
based on this.
Do you know how many insurtechs I have told you need? Let me tell you what you need to do. Of course, none of them listen to me.
No, it's InsureTechs are smart.
Go hire Bradley Flowers to be a consultant, pay him $5,000 or $10,000, and let him consult for you for about 2 or 3 months. Just have 6 or 7 Zoom calls. Maybe not even that many. How many have done that?
A couple, but not many.
Not many. Alex, we got a lot to talk about. Here's my first question. Bradley Flowers brought this up, and I am wildly interested in this. We have done a very poor job in this podcast, even though we've had 2 or 3 podcasts about it, in alerting the insurance industry and the 250,000 agents that listen to this about exactly how bad things are in the state of Florida in terms of insurance. You are in the foxhole, brother. You've got the M16, you're running out of ammunition, you just put the bayonet on top of the M16, we're about to have to do hand-to-hand combat. Tell us about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you're in Miami, so it's like you're
Epicenter?
Yeah. Miami's been dealing with it a lot longer than the rest of the state.
Oh boy. Wait, this was yesterday? Okay. Here's the other statistic I know, because we've had 2 people come on this podcast and throw this statistic out. 76% of the litigation filed in the insurance industry is filed, mainly transportation and roofing, in the state of Florida. So, 115,000 lawsuits, I'm going to say just 25% of that would be any other state.
What is it? Oh, gosh. You have an attorney problem. It's an attorney problem.
That? Right. Correct.
Yeah. Well, and it's like too, a couple months ago, the Florida legislature got together and had this action plan they put together. I don't know if you saw this, Alex. And by the way, the Florida legislature, all of whom are attorneys.
Every one of them.
Right. So it was like, we're going to do this, 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 we're going to do this. And everything was very specific, except the very last one, which was the most vague thing, which talked about addressing assignment benefits.
Right.
Right.
So Alex, we're talking about what we've read lately. Bradley, I read an article last week talking about the insurance problem in the state of Florida. I was telling some people about 2 weeks ago, I said, if Florida keeps on them some bitches ain't gonna be able to have homeowners insurance. Every damn person in the state of Florida is gonna have to self-insure somehow. Hell, I don't even know how that's gonna happen. Here's what I read last week. Correct me if I'm wrong. Bradley discussed the politicians in the state of Florida passing these regulations. My understanding is, again, I'm not very smart, just a country boy from Pine Ridge, Alabama. The reinsurers were so disappointed in that particular meeting and then, passing legislation that it almost made it damn worse instead of better.
Yep.
Is that what your understanding is?
Well, that's what politicians tend to do.
Yeah. Correct. Right. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
And the problem with that is all the politicians are operating under the little troll in the back of their head is saying, you gotta get reelected in 2.5 years.
Correct.
So it's like, we're gonna try to pass measures that seemingly are possibly going to fix the problem today, when in reality, what we really need is something that's long-term, but I don't wanna do anything that hurts my chances of being reelected. Am I wrong?
What Bradley Flowers just said is the bane of my freaking existence. And if I could have said the F-bomb on this podcast, there are 2 words that I don't believe. I think one time, and you and Johnny beat it out, but one time I dropped the F-bomb, and I apologize for that. But I wish I could have just dropped it just then. A politician who has advisors behind him, and of course, the higher up the food chain you go, the more advisors you have. Here's the term that is the bane of my existence. We don't like the optics of that. That's really what you just said.
Yeah.
They go behind a closed door in a conference room with Italian leatherback seat chairs, and some bitch is in there saying, well, DeSantos, we just don't like the optics of this. We don't like how this looks. I don't care how it looks. You some bitches better figure it out, or before long, y'all, we ain't gonna have to worry about insurance agencies in Florida, because all of them are gonna have one damn insurance carrier to write your insurance through.
You don't say the F word, but you say enough some bitches to make up for it.
Well, to me, that's,
I'm just messing with you.
Alex. Exactly.
That's a funny
Yeah,
joke.
that's some kind of puzzle, I guess. Oh boy.
And by the way, they're not in Alabama and Georgia.
No.
Yeah.
Correct. Wow. Oh my God.
Uh-huh. Well, and part of the problem too, and I could be completely wrong on this is my take on this, is you have what you call these citizens takeouts.
This is mind-boggling to me. Go ahead.
So, and this is how I understand this. If Scott and I want to start Larry, Moe, and Curly insurance carrier,
Great name.
we can go to Citizens and basically hand select policies that we basically want to take over, right? And then those people are now part of Larry Bowen Curley Mutual, correct? Well, I'm not done, but that's correct, right? Okay. You can pick the ones you want, right? Okay. So what does that leave? We're not going to pick the bad ones.
Sure.
We're going to pick the good risks.
Right.
So does that, Alex, then this is the part I'm not sure about, does that leave all the bad risk with citizens, which then further hurts their profitability, which drives rates up? True. True.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Right. So like, are you better off being in the middle of the state where you have basically a 50-50 shot of getting hit with a storm from either side? Or are you better off being on one side or the other?
Well, and the lawsuits.
Yeah, right.
So it doesn't matter how good your house or bad your house is, if you're going to assign benefits to a roofing company and then the law firm charges $300,000 in legal fees, and before long you got a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 roof that costs $350,000, $400,000.
Well, the problem with assignment of benefits for roofers, which is essentially, for those that don't understand, you're essentially assigning your claim to that roofer.
Correct.
That contractor. We tell our clients not to sign those, but at least we have an option. People in Florida don't. We tell our clients not to sign those because it doesn't ensure anything other than your contractor is going to make the maximum amount of money possible.
Right.
And your claim's not going to get handled any faster. And guess what? Your insurance is probably going to go up more the next year because
Sure.
the claim's going to be higher.
Right. So, Alex, you and Bradley are extremely bright people. You are intelligent. You understand insurance backwards and forwards. So today, right now, on the Insurance Guys podcast, I want you to give me the 3-step process that every single freaking politician in the state of Florida, including DeSantos, and by the way, DeSantos, you have an open invitation to come on the Insurance Guys podcast anytime. In fact, I got a better idea, DeSantos. Better idea. We got a little podcast we need to be doing. It's a little surprise for you, DeSantos. Let's bring him on with it.
Sure.
Well, I'm going to table that for later. 3-step process. You two are very smart people.
Now everybody thinks we got Trump coming along.
Step number one. All of you politicians and lawyers that are so smart in Florida. Optics. I don't like the optics. We're going to go ahead and solve this problem for you right now. Step number one. Scott Howell's the governor of the state of Florida. I walked up to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement today. I'd like to talk to each and every citizen of the state of Florida. We have just passed legislation, and I'm going to go back to my desk and sign it right now.
Alex Pazzo is the commissioner.
No more assignment of benefits in the state of Florida. It's over.
That fixes a large part of it.
There's step number one right there. Give me step numbers 2 and 3 because I like to keep things simple. Step 1, no more assignment of benefits. Game's over. All you lawyers that are also politicians in the state of Florida, game's over. Sorry, hope you made a bunch. I know you made a bunch of money. I know you did. So, congratulations. What's step number 2?
Alex?
Sure. Right. Right. Sure. So, as the governor of the state of Florida, Scott Howell, obviously DeSantis can't do it, so I'll just take over and do what he can't do. Step 2, we are going to actively recruit, and if that means taking money out of the general fund or some form of tax or whatever we have to do to recruit blue blood carriers back into the state of Florida after we no longer have assignment of benefits, that's our step number 2. What's our
Steps on the attorney fees.
step number 3? Caps on attorney fees.
It's fixed the workers' comp problem.
Yep.
Speak. So speaking of.
But what I just said would fix a hell of a lot of it.
Yeah. What-
I mean,
The difference is you don't have to worry about reelection. That's the problem.
the beautiful thing about me being the governor of the state of Florida, I don't want to get reelected.
Yeah.
I've told all of Huntsville, Alabama, all of my friends from back home that one day in the very near future, I want to run for the office of governor of the state of Alabama. Bradley is going to be my campaign manager and run all of my social media. And
Love that job.
and so
I get to do all the stuff, but my face isn't on.
So I was sitting outside in patio furniture at the lake with 10 of my friends about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And one of my friends, who is a war hero, truly war hero, books should be written about him. Y'all think Chris Kyle killed a bunch of people? Chris Kyle, anyway. He looked at me and he said, Scott, I want to tell you something. I'd vote for you for governor. And I said, Nathan, there's only one problem with that. He said, what's that? And I said, I don't want to win. I just want to run so that everybody in the state of Alabama knows who I Protect Insurance and Financial Services is.
I had a friend who was planning on running for city council for the same reason. He ended up not doing it. But so to segue, speaking of solving problems, talk a little bit about your work with diversity and inclusion in the Big I.
Oh, yes.
Go into that a little bit. Which, by the way, when they put their conference on, man, it is all over social media. That place is buzzing, dude. That's got to be a good event.
Kudos to them.
LAIA.
Well, hey, listen, if you knew my wife,
Then bring her with you.
let me tell you something. My wife is not a stable human being. She will remind me, Alex, this is a true story. Once a month, she will remind me, if you ever cheat on me, I'm going to take every single thing that you own that is in this house, everything you own, I'm going to pile it in the front yard and I'm going to set it on fire. I swear to God. And I believe her with all my heart.
Very calm
She'll do
with
that.
it. Yeah.
She'd love it. Right. Wow.
It's a really, based on what I've seen, it's a really good event. And I have a pretty good gauge of conferences, especially insurance conferences, because we've been to so many.
Right.
You can kind of tell when there's one that's a deflated balloon versus a good one. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And, right. Right. Right.
Right.
Right. Mhm. Right. 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 Right.
Yeah.
Alex, I've got one final question for you, and then we've got to run. We've got another podcast we need to do here in about 5 minutes. It is not lost on me, and it is not lost on Bradley. I am viewed, right or wrong, as some redneck from Alabama. Now, I don't think Bradley gets quite as much of that. He's a little more cultured, a little more politically correct than I am from time to time. But it is not lost on us that we both want to be more culturally diverse relative to this podcast. And I'm going to lump, whether it's African American females, whether it's Latin American, I don't see color. I mean, I was just in Jamaica for 7 days 2 weeks ago, and I was the minority there, and it didn't bother me at all. I've always kind of had their philosophy of, love, peace. It's just not ever been anything, because you hear Alabama and you think of the Bull Connor and the racism and everybody, we have Daniel Song. Is there anybody in Alabama that's Asian?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And I think a lot of people see this podcast as two guys from Alabama. They must both be, redneck, racist, or something. I don't think a lot of people think that, but I do think some people do. What can Bradley and I do? And I'm sincerely asking this. We had somebody, like after the One City World Tour last year, make a comment about us not having any female speakers, which we did, and she caught COVID before the freaking conference. But what can we do more of, and I guess it's probably, I hate to answer my own question, but have more culturally diverse guests. Is that what we need to do? Is that what we need to do to help? Writing that shit down. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Well, you just changed my perspective. I said I don't see color, and I think you're right. I probably need to do. I think we want Bradley in here, really probably do need to see color a little bit more relative to podcast guests, people that we bring on the show. And I'm gonna put a little bit of this back on them though. You got to want to do it too. When we reach out, if we reach out to you and we say, hey, we look to bring on, well, no, I don't want to come on, I'm afraid, I'm scared, I don't know what that's going to be like, or whatever, we've had right. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Little finesse.
Yeah, right. Man, that's outstanding. Alex, thank you for being on today. We appreciate you. Well, I appreciate that. I can't wait to meet
For
you.
the low price of $59.95, you guys can just have intro sent directly to your inbox.
Yeah. Alex, I'm going to do a little bit of research on the LAIA, and if my schedule allows for it, I was just down in Miami 3 or 4 months ago, but I would love to come down there and be a part of it. I love going to conferences and meeting people that I don't know anybody.
Yeah, me too.
That's a great thing. Okay.
We'd be all over that.
Yeah, I would.
Just go, we would do that.
Yeah. Alex, as I end every podcast, rewards come from action, not discussion. Get your ass out from behind that desk today. Go out into the big bad world. Write business for your wife, for your husband, for your kids' college fund. Make money for them, for your parents that are struggling out there. Go help them. Figure out what your why is, and whatever that is, go live the life that you deserve to live. Write good business for the companies that you represent, and write good business for the agencies that you represent. Bradley Flowers, I love you.
Man, thanks, Alex.
Alex, we love you too. Guys, you are listening to the Insurance Guys podcast. We love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being a part of our family, and we'll see you back here real soon. Take care.
Do that Florida clip, that Florida bit can be chopped up in so many different ways.
Yeah,
that's going to be
what I was thinking.
Yeah, I looked at him and said, clip it, like.
Oh, look at that one.
Oh, I don't know. I've always called him
I think that's
DeSantis.
just the southern drawl.
Yeah, I think people in Alabama what do you call him? I call him
I didn't even know
DeSantis.
who it was till like 2 months ago.
He's
I'm the most
young.
like, non-political person.
Right.
Mhm.
No, I didn't. It wasn't me.
I'm gonna run the restroom real quick. I'll see you,
Yeah,
man.
it wasn't me trying to call him out in that way. That's just the way I've always said his name was Rick DeSantos.
Ron.
Ron, I'm sorry, Ron. Sorry. What? Rick, Ron. Yeah. Yeah. Good to talk to you today, Alex. We love you. Hey, if we can ever help you, if I can, call me, okay? Okay, no problem. Good to see you. Bye-bye. Yeah, I've always called him DeSantos. I didn't know his name.
Sanchez, it is a foreign name, right, or a different language name. It's a Hispanic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But
funny,
you
though.
need-
That's
you
not
need
how
to
you
know-
pronounce
You'll
it.
hear it because there's a lot of talk about him maybe trying to run for president.
Yes, I've heard that. He's gonna maybe run for president, but I don't know.
The world is a crap show right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, Charger.
I took more notes on that one than I did the first one.
They keep messing around with that Florida insurance market, they ain't gonna have but about 2
I didn't-
carriers without a policy.
I have family down in Florida, and I've never heard that I ain't close to my dad's side of the family. Grandparents were in Key West when that big hurricane hit it. You upset he keeps calling me producer and you doing all the work?
Oh, I don't care.
I'm glorified assistant, so I'm looking at it right now.
We shot, a big, country music festival back in June.
Yeah.
Or I was on crew for one, and, Ron DeSantis came out like as like a special
Really?
guest, yeah, like unannounced. So we got saw him filmed him behind the scenes, and then him coming out on stage. It's a country music festival, so.
Was that with, Samuel?
No, it was
I know he does a bunch of jig work for like country music.
yeah, up in Nashville, yeah.
Yeah.
No, this was for another guy. I don't even know how he got the job, but.
Did he do a good job?
Yeah. I mean, he's just kind of just like coordinating.
Mm.
Really knows the work.
I ain't really need to just tear up. I'm sitting on the edge of that seat with my head. Well, I will soon. People got to pass. As soon as he gets in, I'll do that. I'm gonna go to that.
What's up, man? How are you? I apologize for being super late. You're number 4 today, I think, so if one runs long, we get the whole day gets out of whack. Yeah. You guys have a podcast, right? We need to touch on that today. Just waiting on Scott to get in here so we can get started. Yeah. It's so smart. Like that's like one of the best ways. I tell people, if you want to like get known in a niche, you either need to start a podcast in that niche or find a podcast and buy ads on it. One of the two, if not both. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And that's the part that a lot of people can't get over is the fact that you sell more of your product by not selling your product. And so many people just can't, they're like, you can't not sell, they don't understand that. And yeah, exactly. Well, it's like I don't know, it's just like the guy that like tries to take the girl home after the first date. You're trying to get married, that's not the way to do it. Exactly. I appreciate you coming on with such short notice. Again, sorry we're late. If you need to bounce early, just let me know. Oh, really? That's funny. That's cool. What are some of your other divisions? Nice.
Oh yeah.
Me too. We were getting ready to like go full on in restaurants right when COVID happened again. That's cool. That's cool. Well, the problem with Alabama, man, you know how many carriers that are readily available right liquor in Alabama? Dude, there's one, Attune does it on their bot, but they have to be eligible, they have to meet all of Attune's other 520 points of, yeah. And then Centrex does standalone liquor. And outside of that, there's a couple of like folks that have like captive programs and that sort of thing. But other than that, that's a real carrier. It is a, if you can't get them into the tune, it's a nightmare. We had a coffee shop that I have a business partner and another agency that also owns a coffee shop. And it's a coffee shop that's like kind of hipster vibe, and they serve alcohol from like 5 to 8 p.m. And their liquor, we projected like modest sales, right? We ventured their liquor was $24K a year. That was no assault and battery, and it was $100K coverage. Like, yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. 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 And you probably have a ton of cannabis specialists too. You have a lot of people. It's a recipe for disaster because you have a segment that doesn't have a lot of coverage. You know, a lot of carriers necessarily want it, and you have everybody's trying to be cannabis guy. That's interesting. Yeah, exactly. And then too, you know, we interviewed Jesse Parenti, who does a lot of cannabis. His title of his episode was Pizza, Pot, and Property. And one thing he talked about is interesting is being able, when you talk to these guys and gals, is being able to delineate between somebody who wants to run it as a legitimate business and somebody who's doing it just so they don't go to jail. Like trying to say, okay, these guys are just doing this so they can go legal. You know what I'm saying? And not necessarily that that's bad, but it's just, what do you want to ensure? You know what I mean? Who's going to be more likely to do things the right way? But yeah, so it kind of hit me this past week. I was like, we never really, my agency has a really small niche in trucking. We have and we've talked a little bit, you and I have, but we have an Amazon distribution center here. So we have, they're hiring these like one truck owner operators to go distribution center. And so I know a little bit about it, and I have a lady in my office here who knows way more than I do. But it hit me like, you've never interviewed a trucking person. You've interviewed contractor people and that sort of thing. So anyway, we're excited, dude. Again, I apologize for being late.
My fault.
Scott, it's always Scott's fault. He can't hear you yet.
Hello, my brother. How are you? Yeah, I'm doing better. I came home, had an emergency colonoscopy and endoscopy, and they figured out I had Crohn's disease.
You said that yesterday. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm okay. My doctor said I had the most inflamed colon he had ever seen. He's only been a doctor for about 35 years. But the problem with it was they had a specific medication called an infusion that they wanted me to do. It's basically you get it through a drip instead of like taking a pill. Well, my insurance company wouldn't pay for it. So I've had to go a different route, but apparently, because that hasn't really worked very well, and by the way, they're about to do another colonoscopy on me in like 6 weeks.
You're gonna live stream it?
I got a call like yesterday while we were podcasting that they had decided they are gonna pay for it and that I need to schedule with whatever, yeah. So, Cameron,
Couple things real quick. Has a big niche in trucking, but he also has a trucking podcast for the trucking industry. Want to touch on that?